This is how we do it, man. We shut our mouth and we work hard. This is the Mexican way.
This has been one of the best moves of my career.
He comes out of the final corner as the first driver to see the flag for the 5th time in Formula One. Sergio Perez wins. It's Perez on top.
Sergio Perez has gone from this to this. An uncanny driver no one truly gave a shot, who eventually became the teammate of the greatest driver on the current F1 grid.
I still don't believe that I'm here, to be honest.
The switch to Red Bull might be the cherry on the cake of Checo's career, but his fortunes failed miserably. Moments like this at crucial times meant Perez cost Red Bull the 2024 Constructors' Championship. But how good was Sergio Perez actually? And did he deserve a Red Bull seat?
Sergio Perez! Sergio Perez! Sergio Perez!
Sergio Perez hails from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Born on January 26, 1990, Perez was interested in motorsport from a very young age. He had his first competitive karting race aged just 6, often dominating the South American leagues like Senna had done before him. By the time he turned 14, Perez moved up to the Junior Formulae, where he continued honing his skills and finally entered the British Formula 3 International Series. The Mexican attracted a lot of attention during this period, especially after winning the 2007 edition of British Formula 3. Perez continued climbing the ranks, where he found a new home in the GP2 series. Thanks to his impressive showing, finishing the 2009 season as runner-up to Pastor Maldonado, F1 teams finally took notice. By 2010, and now an official driver of the Ferrari Academy, the F1 teams came knocking. And by 2011, Ferrari customer team Sauber signed the Mexican to partner Kamui Kobayashi. Checo's debut at the Australian Grand Prix didn't go as planned, ending with a disqualification. This was a massive shock after he ended the race in the points, later to be informed about an illegal rear wing. By 2012, Checo had a year's experience under his belt, which paid off big dividends. He earned his first podium at the Malaysian Grand Prix.
A great challenge from Sergio Perez to come home and finish second.
Followed by 2 more in Canada and Italy. These massive achievements earned Checo a better drive for 2013, but you'll never guess who he'd be replacing.
Lewis Hamilton is set to leave McLaren.
Yes, you heard that correctly. Perez was about to replace the former world champ himself, Lewis Hamilton. But it was more like Lewis moving to Mercedes and McLaren seeking the best possible replacement. Right place, right time, I guess. But this big move only lasted a season. A podium-less 2013 and Perez was on the move to Force India. This was a big move for his career, sticking with the team for 4 years and earning 5 podiums before the team rebranded to Racing Point. Checo stuck around driving for Racing Point for another 2 years, and it was ultimately the best move for the Mexican. With the backing of billionaire Lawrence Stroll, the pink Mercedes was born. Perez's career took a different trajectory from 2019 onward, finally winning his first race at the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix.
The Sakhir Grand Prix, Sergio Perez, wow!
This career-defining moment put Checo on the radar of Red Bull. After a stellar season for Racing Point, finishing 4th in the championship and earning his first win, Checo received an offer from Red Bull Racing. Despite the likes of Daniel Ricciardo and Pierre Gasly lying in wait, Checo was the number 1 option. Keep in mind that the Austrian team struggled to find a decent partner to match Verstappen. Before Perez, both Alexander Albon and Pierre Gasly played a bit of hot potato with the second Red Bull seat, but all hope to support Max was put on the shoulders of the Mexican. Perez didn't disappoint. In fact, the 2021 F1 season saw Checo win for Red Bull in Azerbaijan, a crucial victory that later helped Verstappen win the Drivers' Championship. Perez didn't have the same season as Max, but he came through whenever Max had a bad race. By taking points off Hamilton, he made it easier for Verstappen to win his first driver's title. The following year, Perez continued his excellent spell at Red Bull, winning 2 more races and helping the Austrian team to a constructors' title. It was followed up by another title in 2023 and a career best 2nd place in the championship. Ultimately, Checo was on top of the world, while Max was dominating. The Mexican came through whenever he had to. Red Bull had a dominant driver lineup, but like Kvyat, Albon and Gasly, the dream ended abruptly. 2024 and Red Bull was the outright favourite. Despite a rising Ferrari and McLaren outfit, everyone expected Checo and Verstappen to continue their domination, but something went seriously wrong. Bahrain and Saudi looked like the old Checo with 2 podiums followed by a 5th place in Australia. Perez continued doing his job in Japan and China with 2 more podiums, but Miami saw the Mexican slowly regress. A 4th place in the US, followed by 8th in Italy, 2 retirements in Monaco and Canada, had Red Bull seriously questioning the future of the Mexican, and the bad luck continued. For the rest of the season, Checo didn't manage to finish in the top 6, and everyone was asking questions. The biggest among these was Christian Horner.
Well, Checo knows it's a pressure business, and he knows the scrutiny that there is, particularly in a car that's winning a lot of races and performing with the other driver the way it is. So that's Formula One, and that pressure just naturally exists on any teammate.
The Red Bull team principal repeatedly spoke out about Checo for the rest of the season. All of this culminated with Red Bull announcing a mutual termination of the contract between themselves and Perez.
The breaking news is Formula One news. Red Bull have announced that Sergio Perez will be leaving the team.
This didn't come as a shock to either party of F1 fans around the world. What was a shock, though, was the fact that Liam Lawson was given the seat next to Verstappen. Nevertheless, it spelled the official end of the turbulent career of Sergio Perez. However, a big question remains: how good was Sergio Perez really? Well, for starters, Checo was never a golden child. The likes of Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton all had massive expectations ahead of their debut. Perez, on the other hand, was somewhat unknown. He didn't compete in F2 or F3 and had limited media coverage. What made a huge difference, though, is the fact that he brought a whole lot of sponsorships. With strong ties with massive corporations, he brought a lot of cash to teams. Some of his most notable sponsors were KitKat, Telmex, Jalisco, Uber, and the biggest was, of course, his sponsorships from billionaire Carlos Slim. These sponsorships made Perez an excellent option for cash-strapped teams and largely contributed to the rise of Racing Point. Perez also didn't win his first race until he was a decade into his career, but this is not surprising given that only 1 or 2 drivers a decade generally dominate the sport. Comparing him to the likes of Bottas, who also fulfilled a second driver role during his prime, it is easy to see that Checo might not have been Red Bull's best option. As bad as this might sound, there is nothing truly special about the Mexican. In fact, many fans are blinded by his great 2020 season, but was it Perez or the fact that Racing Point basically copied Mercedes? The car was even referred to as the Pink Mercedes. Secondly, Perez did great at Red Bull, better than Gasly and Albon, but he was also given a far more dominant car. If you're talking about all-time F1 greats, Perez would barely make it into the top 20 of all time. Despite how much you love Checo, he only managed 6 wins from 285 Grand Prix entries, 3 pole positions, and 39 podiums. Bottas, arguably the best number 2 driver in the last decade, had 10 wins from 247 entries, 67 podiums, and 20 pole positions. Despite what people might think of Valtteri, he did play a much bigger role in helping Lewis to 4 championships than Perez did for Max. Nonetheless, Perez will always hold a place in the hearts of many F1 fans. The Mexican Minister of Defense will be remembered for holding up Lewis at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, denying Hamilton the win in Azerbaijan, and never being able to match Verstappen on pure pace. This doesn't mean he's not a good driver. In fact, F1 has seen far worse drivers than Checo drive for big teams. Albon and Kvyat immediately jump to mind. A case for Gasly being treated unfairly can be made. Perez had far more success than these two, and his name will forever be associated with the Red Bull brand. But what does the future hold for the Mexican? Well, Checo is now retired from Formula One and is reportedly an ambassador for the Red Bull brand. Not a bad retirement package, including his millions earned in the sport. So despite the hate and criticism, Perez has a pretty good retirement and will still play a big role, especially in the Red Bull Driver Academy. Perhaps using his expertise to help a new crop of drivers like Lawson, Tsunoda and Isaac Hadjar could help Red Bull create a dynasty. But if there was ever a kinder and more respectable driver than Sergio Perez, we'd love to see your comments. Do you think the Mexican was treated unfairly, or was it the right call? Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more Formula One content.